We call this Jackson County Commission, August 10th, 2020 to order. Roll call, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Rich?
Present.
Mr. Venable?
Present.
Ms. Gilbert?
Present.
Mr. Sis? Present. Chairman present.
We have enough for quorum. We'll have our prayer by Mr. Porter and our pledge by Mr. Venable.
Our God in heaven, you are an awesome God, and we are so thankful for the blessings that you bestow on each and every one of us every day that we get up and we can see the sunshine each and every morning. We're thankful for these blessings, thankful for the blessings individually and as a community. We're thankful. We're also of a mind right now, God, that there are so many issues going on in our community and in our nation that we need help with, God. So we just pray that you'll be with us and give us guidance and direction, strength and stamina and courage and commitment to do the things that you would have us do in the manner that you would have us do. We pray that you will deliver us from this pandemic, from this disease that has come upon us. We just pray that we'll survive this and get on the other side. We pray you'll continue to watch over us and guide us, be with our public servants. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we need to approve the agenda of the meeting, August 10th, 2020.
We'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
You got a motion and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We have no awards presentations. Anybody signed up to speak?
Nope.
Before we go on to the meeting, we got something I want to read. It's about our turnover at the Sheriff's Department. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office has now lost a total of 6 deputies in the last 9 months. 1 to Scottsboro PD, 1 to State Troopers, 1 to State Park Rangers, 2 to Madison County Sheriff's Office, and 1 become truck driver. During exit interviews, all stated that the reason for leaving was no pay raises and little hope of getting raises, along with a high cost of family insurance coverage. Below is a comparison of all surrounding Alabama counties, which normally supplies our pool of applicants. So if you'll take a look at the paper you got, you'll notice that Jackson County is well below Marshall, DeKalb, and Madison County and what they're paying. And I do know that the Sheriff's Department has a very hard time of getting qualified applicants at the rate of pay that we can afford to pay. Something needs to be done, and I just hope that at some point we can change the way that we're going. Does anybody have any comments on the Sheriff's Department, what he give us?
Is that not included?
Yes.
Y'all want to say anything before I move on?
No,
Right.
I really don't. I mean, like I said, Rocky done all this work for our legislators, gave it to Steve Livingston, and so he can show it to Tommy and Richie, and we want to make y'all a copy of it. Guys, we're struggling. I mean, we really are. I'm gonna be honest with you, the 2 openings at the end of this month, I'm contemplating not filling those and using that money to give my people a pay raise just to keep them. That means we would be 2 more deputies short than we already are if I do that. And we may end up going back, like when I started here in 1988, we went home at midnight. We had deputies on call.
Yes, sir.
But I've got to do something for my people to keep them. We cannot work with 20 brand new deputies. You've got to have people with experience, and you're not going to get experience if you don't pay for it.
Right.
I mean,
It's
we're
sad.
struggling bad.
It's sad that the situation has come to this point
I agree with
without
you.
getting help up this far. I mean, something's got to be.
I'm not sure that the public even realizes how bad
No.
it is at this point.
I didn't realize how bad it was until 2 years ago,
Right.
and it's bad. But our hands are tied. You know.
You know, there was a gentleman that's supposed to be here today complaining about, you know, his community in particular, wanting a deputy, and some business owners was gonna get together and maybe try to pay for somebody to work their area. You know, every community in this county complains about not having a deputy in their area. They're there when they can be there.
Right.
You know, we just don't have enough people.
And it's
Our
a
call volume is
safety issue.
increasing every day. It's not going down by no
Right.
means.
And
We
it's
are
a
really
serious
struggling.
safety issue, I know,
Absolutely.
Chuck. I mean, we've got to a point now to where it's critical. Something has to be done. And I'm sure this commission, and I'm open to any and all ideas that anybody has to fix this situation, but we're just about at we're staying level funded.
And this doesn't even include the jail. This is just over here.
And then we've lost how many in the jail? Just
We
in the
lost
last
one
month?
to be a dog groomer, make more money being a dog groomer this week. I mean, that's what kind of money they make.
And three of those deputy openings are right now. So we're 3 short right now.
And if you send them to the academy, it'd be what, 6 months before you put them on the road?
Whenever the next academy starts,
Right.
you know, they're gonna be riding with somebody, so we're still gonna be that many cars short. Then they're gonna go to school for 4 months, 5 months, ever how long it is now, and we're gonna be short 3 deputies during that time. So if they went to work for us today, you're looking at probably 9 months minimum that we're gonna be short
Before they could actually patrol.
before they could actually get in a car by themselves and go to work.
And this is not a problem that's unique to the sheriff's department. I mean,
No.
it's the county-wide, and, I wanna thank our counties for our employees for hanging on as long as they have, and appreciate all of our employees do. You know, a lot of the sheriff's department folks, they work hours they don't bill for, they don't get paid for.
Absolutely they do.
Y'all done a great job with what you've had to do with it. I
Well,
appreciate it.
we've got dedicated employees, but everyone that walks off, I can't blame them. They all gotta do something for their family, they can't just keep on.
I agree.
Joe said a good point there. You know, when he started, he said they had to go home to bed now. You know, when you don't have money to pay them, that may be what it comes down to.
It may be.
I mean,
It literally may be.
I hate to see it because there's a lot of crime in Jackson County, and I've seen it grow in my area tremendously here. But you know, with the lack of funds, you can only do so much.
That's exactly
And,
right.
you know, I just want to commend all of you for what you do. Because, you know, when you call, I've called Rocky different times, called you different times, and you're doing your best.
All right, any more comments for the sheriff? We'll move on, to our meeting, which we don't have anything from last work session, so we'll go right into our work session. Discussion items for commission. First one would be a roof, quote for Liberty Lane property. If everybody look, we actually asked for several quotes, we only got 2 back. If you'll notice, they were all quite a bit different. But this roof needs to be, we patched it, it needs to be replaced.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't know we were even asking for quotes. I know here back a month ago that, we had mentioned something about some leaks with all the rainfall, and, Mr. Porter can correct me if I'm wrong, but we had also said there was still time to look back in and see if we might wanna check this out with the state. But I think it kinda slipped through the crack, you know, for not being, making them do their job of upholding things, compensate things, so, I mean, I'm not against either one of these here, but I didn't know anything was soliciting bids for this, because I know a number of different ones that might be interested in it, you know, maybe way higher, I don't know what they'd be involved, if they have time to even do it, but, you know, I thought they would mention it about, we go back to the state and see what we might look at. Was that not correct, Mr. Porter? We said something about that?
We did have a discussion about, 2 things. One is, as I recall, the chairman said that he would get quotes for the repair of the roof, which needs to be done before it can be leased again.
Right.
I mean, so that's critical, and you really don't have time to wait around and see if the state's gonna do anything. These are the quotes that have been submitted. And the second thing is that, you know, if the state has any liability or responsibility under our prior lease agreement for a repair of the roof, then we can still address that with them. But you need to get the roof work done so it can be released again.
Right.
Is my understanding.
Yes, sir. So that's where we're at this time. We need to, like I said, we asked, I actually got with our maintenance supervisor and we called 5 or 6 different companies, and we actually got 3 to come out and 2 to submit prices.
Were they given like a general scope of work? I mean, does this include the same work? Because there is a major difference.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the first one here, they kinda left part of the bid out. They really need to give us a hard bid on the additional charges to replace decking if needed, $75 per sheet. And the second one, they actually itemized that out.
Yeah, they didn't put no total on it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't feel comfortable hiring somebody and know what the price is gonna be later.
Right. But this is, yeah, so it's actually the same, it's just, they both left them out. Are they a good way, you're more familiar with building than I am, but are they a good way for them to know the roof on there, if there's gonna be stuff like that have to be replaced?
I mean, you're gonna take some of the shingles off and discover some stuff. I mean, you can get up on the roof and walk around and feel soft spots and kinda estimate how much you think, is gonna have to be replaced. It looks like what the second bidder done.
Yeah, I agree
Wonder
with
why
that.
he didn't fill in,
Second bidder
the amount.
explained exactly what was taking place in his bid. And, like Ms. Gilbert said, there's a lot of difference here. And, Mr. Venable, I don't wanna know exactly what this final price is gonna be.
They clearly state there that, of course, won't know until the roof dissolves.
alright, so,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
if it's gonna be more than $50,000, it's gonna have to be bid for the formal bid process.
right,
And you run into problems if you were to agree to the first estimate, which is a hair under 50,
right,
and then it goes over 50, then you violate the bid law because it is actually more than 50.
I think we need to,
So
yeah,
it looks
write a
like
bid
you're gonna need to
spec,
bid.
yeah, write a bid spec and advertise for it.
but like I said, this was a start, we had to get a start somewhere, cause I didn't have any idea where it was gonna be at. If it was gonna be $100,000 or 30,000, I don't, not much on roofing, but we'll make sure we get a scope rope and advertise it. And then we'll put that on, later work session when I get that information in.
Another question, would we be able to consider a metal roof?
Could ask for the bid on both directions.
Yeah, that built to this body.
That's what my thoughts would be, it'd be both ways. Jason knows more about it, he's got contractors and things, but, I feel like we need to get a bid both ways.
Alright. Oh, we'll put a bid for both ways, if that's what y'all wanna do. Alright, next will be Rebuild Alabama Project Selection, Mr. Campbell. You're up.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I'll be working from 2 main things, and hopefully they're laid in there in order. I'm gonna start with the local roads first, if that's okay. How's the volume? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that'll be this list. So it's broken down by district. The top sheet's a summary. You should see a district breakdown and kind of what we're looking at mileage. We've obviously given you more than we can afford, but we wanted just to kind of, just so you can see what we have and the short list of what's out there. And then hopefully take this and what we're gonna talk about next and piece together, 2 components to make up the rebuild. And we're gonna propose this with local road. We're gonna propose this just like we did last time. The local roads will have a certain amount of mileage that we can afford in the chip seal. Then we'll have the ST projects that are out there on inventory that we pick, hopefully one of those. And then we're also gonna provide you with a pavement preservation option, okay? So those are gonna be roads they're good roads. They don't need anything. It's what, if you stop anybody going down that road, that's what they're gonna say. But we're gonna show how spending a little bit of money right now is really gonna preserve that and minimize a large price tag, soon down the road. So beginning with these, we just ask that you check out your district. There's a brief description and a price tag there, and the length. And it should be in order with the pictures as you go down the list. So, are there any questions before I move on to the next stack?
When will you need these decisions by?
We're doing this to meet our August 31st deadline. So, with 2 meeting dates now, hopefully, we anticipate a vote next week. If we need to go, that would give us one more week if we want to do emergency type meeting or something like that. But to stay on schedule and meet our deadline, then next week would be a vote. If you need additional information, if you need additional pictures, we probably have a lot of pictures. We've provided you one each. I don't think you can pick, I can tell by some of your faces, you're not gonna pick a road that don't need, resurfacing. It's rebuilding. I mean, it's terrible.
These pictures are pitiful.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Mr. Campbell, our next meeting is the 31st.
Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 weeks from today.
We're on a 2-week schedule now.
24.
Well, I think, whatever that Monday, it's 2 weeks from today.
We have the 24th in there, hopefully.
24th. So, you're talking about making an emergency meeting between there and the 31st?
Between the 24th and the 31st, if we have to.
I apologize, I misunderstood what you're saying.
24.
All right. Okay, can I move on to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Y'all want to talk a little more about this? Am I good? All right, so just kind of, we'll kind of go back to this in a second, but this is the next sheet I'm working from. All right, and then the first category is County Rebuild Alabama Fund. So you'll see in that title, there's 800,000 there. As you recall, last year that was 600, right? We're gonna step up every year until we get to our 1 million. But this year, we should be around 800,000. There may be a slight reduction in revenue based on COVID related, but for all practical purposes, we can estimate 800,000. So in that 800,000 category, that's gonna include those local chip seal roads that you just looked at, picking out of that, and then picking, maybe one of these resurfacing. So the first 2 projects are full-blown resurfacing projects, and the pictures are on there. And then the other projects are what I spoke about, preservation, or a method to preserve those. And that's gonna be not plant mix, okay? I need to disclaim that. It's gonna be going over a plant mix road, but it's gonna be a pavement preservation technique. So I've included a picture in the very back of an example of that. So as you consider that, please understand that we're gonna take a plant mix road and we're gonna cover it with something that's not hot mix asphalt, okay? Hopefully it's gonna look as nice and smooth as this does. This is a scrub seal with a sand seal over it. But there's always possibilities of displeasure from folks when you take a nice hot plant mix road and provide something on it that's not. Now I have a feeling if it looks like this, and we can justify our reason for doing it and delaying a resurfacing for 5, 7, 10 years, then that's something we can defend, but just understand that we may have to defend that. Okay, so I'm just gonna say some things on what we're thinking and the way we lay these projects out, just as a frame of reference or to kickstart your thought process on this. If you were to pick, and we're hypothetically speaking, we're looking at this 800,000 funding, and you were to pick one of these resurfacing projects, if you pick that first resurfacing project, and then you come over to our local road section, and you pick in District 1 the first 3, in District 2 the first 2, in District 3 the first 2, and in District 4 the first 1, that would get you about $372,000 worth, okay? So that would, you would have the remaining to pick one of these resurfacing projects. And then being mindful too, kind of, where the work's going on. 83's in Pisgah, for example. 23 and 17 is out near Plantation Point. So, if you pick a road maybe down below in the Federal Aid Exchange, we're gonna talk about in a minute, it's in that same area, you might wanna go in a different area just to spread things out. So I'm not picking them for you. I'm just kind of giving you working through an idea and getting you started on maybe a direction you might want to go. All right, any questions about the County Rebuild Alabama funds, that $800,000? What we're proposing that consists of? And for the record, it could be all local roads. It could be all chip seal roads, right? We could take that $800,000 and we could spend every bit of it on chip seal, or we could take that $800,000 and we could spend every bit of it on ST projects, paved hot mix roads. So, we tried to strike a balance with knowing the ST network that's out there, catching one of those roads and then taking what's left like we did last year and doing local chip seal with those. The pavement preservation, let me talk a little bit about that and I'm gonna move on down because it applies down below too. Those we put out there, you can see the last year that all these roads were paved, the estimated amount that we have on it, the ADT, so that's gonna be your traffic, and then obviously the length and the location where it's at. So on 38, 48, 96, it's in that pavement preservation. Those are methods other than hot mix. So that sand seal or a scrub seal, or 96 is just a sand seal, okay? So they are much cheaper options as far as performing the work, and you can see how much further that money stretches in covering the road to do that preservation.
On the pavement preservation of these 3 that you've got listed here, which one is nearing the end of the possibility of the pavement preservation? Or all of them nearing the end of the possibility of the pavement preservation?
It's not in this category. The one nearest the end of pavement preservation is down below on County Road 47.
Okay.
This is our last shot at that. It'll have to have an overlay after this, and we'll get into that. To answer your question specifically, 38 and 48 are about the same condition wise. 96 is a good road. If you look at the photos on 96, it's just now beginning to crack. It's been a long time it's out there, so it's oxidized, it's cracking. There's some areas that need patching, and we've accounted for that in our estimate. But really, for all practical purposes, striping's wore out, the road looks good, but when you take a road that's been out there for 19 years,
It's held up pretty good.
it's held up really good, and we could spend $100,000 and go 3 miles. Okay, so up above, it would take us, if you see comparing that to resurfacing, it's gonna take us $500,000 to go 3 miles. See the difference? So
On
it's
the last one here, if we do that, what the life expectancy would be? Would it
it's
be
not
another
gonna be
20
plant.
years,
It's not gonna
12
be
years?
plant mix life, but you're looking at I think it's reasonable to expect 8, 9, 7 to 9. This road's done well since 2001. That tells me, that it was probably a really good mix that was placed initially. It probably has a decent base. There's some issues, but it's nothing that can't be handled with patching. But we're gonna buy 7, 8 years without having to face that $500,000 price tag. Any other questions on the Rebuild Alabama Fund, $800,000? Okay, Federal Aid Exchange is the last category on this sheet. That's what you're used to seeing as our federal aid routes, okay? That's gonna be major minor collectors. It's gonna be typically higher ADT, so higher traffic, but not always. But it's the network that the state recognizes as the routes that receive federal aid dollars, okay? We no longer receive federal aid dollars. We traded our federal aid money for this 400,000, and that lessens our restriction and overhead for those projects. But we're still, you know, keeping that in the same category as far as road network that these dollars are spent for. So considering that, 58 and 16A, so you'll notice the 16A and B, that was originally done as one project. Now, 20 years later, the cost is such that it, I don't know how we would ever stomach that. It's best if it's broken. So 58 and half of 16 is what we're proposing as a plant mix resurfacing, and then there are some preservation options listed below. 47, 88, 16B, and then 260. And two, I'll just mention your ADT is kind of where that's kind of your bang for your buck category, right? That's where you're going. That's the number that indicates how many users you're going to affect. So, you can play that into the decision weighing on how many travelers are going to be per road. And overages, okay, so 400,000 obviously is not going to pay for either one of those first two projects. So we'll be looking at 111 operating fund or RRR could cover the difference there. So it's kind of similar to our match money was before. You know how we would have to come up with 20%. You can kind of view it the same way. We'll have to take a little out of 111 or RRR to go with that to get the whole project. Any questions about either one of those?
Were we not looking at some help on 47? Isn't that College Road?
It is College Road. Yes, we were. We lobbied for some state assistance on that, ST dollars to help preserve that, and we made a case and presented on it a couple times before the highway director and ALDOT. And the last instruction we had were, we need to help you with your bridge. You complete that, and then maybe in the future. So I won't say there's no hope in that, but we were given the bridge project first.
Yeah, Macedonia.
Right, and then possibly, it would require a revisit and a conversation and asking, which we have no problem doing, but that opportunity just hasn't presented itself again.
We need to have some pretty deep discussions tonight about what we plan on doing if we have to go this week from tonight.
So much what really need to go.
What would you probably don't have the numbers, on 47, what would be the difference between this preservation number, and if you said it's on its last shot, so we're looking at resurfacing, what would be the increase in that, double, tripled?
Yeah, so you could take 4.5 miles and compare it to the cost above it,
Okay.
or you're at 2.67. It's going to be an $800,000 project, 859, somewhere in that range. That was our whole argument and hopes in presenting that as a preservation, because it's really two projects. It's so long. It's really two projects, and we were really wanting to get ahead of that and preserve it to avoid a massive cost, because it was all done as one project.
So they're aware of that, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So, Ms. Gilbert, was that what you would want to lean toward possibly doing with the $400,000 federal exchange?
Well, Mr. Venable, I wasn't really even thinking at that point, I was just wanting to know if our state legislators were aware of this is the last shot to save $500,000 basically. And,
I would be inclined to want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that is a highly traveled road, and,
Maybe this will help you, it's our account balance in 111, where additional funds will have to come from to supplement this.
Campbell, since that 47 has been brought to the table already, and they suggested the bridge, and you said there hadn't been a time to come back, I mean, it'd still be open for discussion. What is your thoughts? I mean, do you think the possibilities, is it had on the table before?
Possibly, you know, we did well with that, with our Matheny project. We were under budget, we're on time, we returned money. I think we were good stewards of what they allowed us the first time. I believe they would listen, you know, typically the director comes around at a certain time every year and letters are sent out and we have a chance to go sit down and look at things such as that, so, you know, I really don't know.
Have they seen this road earlier though? I mean, I know you said it be presented to them. Have they actually came out and seen it and they suggested a bridge, or has it just been a proposal that was put out there?
We asked for both, so initially, you know, we asked for both projects and, you know, I think they were gracious in what they allowed us, but trying to get both was really asking for too much, is my honest opinion.
yeah.
Looks to me like you're gonna get a lot more miles out of preservation.
Yeah. That's correct, but, you know, keep in mind too, that, like in that same category, please check out the photos of 58. So, you know, you have almost the same amount of cars there. I know it's not as long, you know, I know it's not as long, it's not as many miles, you know, included in what we're talking about, and but if that waits a year, then what we're probably looking at is an increase on buildup required. So it's already a full-blown resurfacing project, right? So that layer will be thicker. You know, we'll have to do probably additional patching, a thicker wear and surface on it. So assume an increase in cost on that as well.
58's the country store at Pisgah.
Yeah, Country Corner to 60, County Road 60, and 60 is where, you know, the current project, the ongoing project through the school zone's taking place. And we're trying to depict the whole road's conditions in one of these pictures, so you know, that's really hard to do without just overwhelming you with photos galore. You know, we try to condense it to one picture, but you know, you really have to ride the road to, you know, and when you get it down to tough comparisons, it's really hard to beat windshield surveys on really getting a good feel for the condition.
On this, on the federal exchange that we're talking about, is it the one that changed when they done the rebuild Alabama tax? And is it now a use it or lose it, or will it roll over to next year? Will we have a balance to roll over if we don't do a $400,000 project?
So, Mr. Manning, you may be better to answer this than me, but I understand this as before, we had a balance and we were given a summary sheet, just like you're talking about. This will differ in the fact that we get 400,000. So we get 400,000 next year, we get 400,000, we get 400,000. So it's no longer managed by them and divvied out to us. We hold the piggy now. Is that fair?
That's correct, and we used all of the current years, 2020. We went just a little bit over $25,000-$30,000 over what we thought we would get for 2020. So that 400,000 has been approved last August to be spent. So.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes, ma'am.
help me remember the current jobs that we're doing, because I'm a firm believer in spreading it around the county, not letting one general area.
Yeah.
If there's a comparison need somewhere, just trying to make sure one community gets as much as the other community.
So projects underway right now are County Road 60 through Pisgah School Zone, County Road 90, and when I say underway, there's either scheduled to let, awaiting a pre-con, or under construction. County Road 90, that's up at Bryant, goes from Highway 73 to the Georgia state line. County Road 25 has been approved.
Skyline.
That's from State Route 79 to State Route 79, loop through. And then County Road 33.
And that's the extra section, the section that didn't get finished the first time.
That's correct. Just north of the quarry on 33.
Up to the fish pond
That's right,
area.
up to the catfish pond area. And then there's safety projects going on right now, so
And that's the federal fund ones.
it's this last year and then the remainder of our federal funds. So we had to spend all of our federal funds before we can start getting this $400,000 exchange. But yes,
On the county rebuild, we have no projects there because that's the new one, right?
it's the county rebuild from last year are 25 and 33.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we leaning toward with the, exchange dollars, doing a resurfacing or a preservation? What's, I mean,
Well, if we were willing to put a little bit with it to do the resurfacing, I'm sorry, you might not have been speaking to me, Mr. Venable. But my thoughts were, if we were looking at adding that extra 22 or whatever to the resurfacing, we possibly could add that extra 40 and do 2 of the preservation projects, the top one and the bottom one. Would that be an option?
you know, talking about the first option of 58 is 522,000?
No, sir, in the preservation, 47 and 260.
Okay.
They both connect to 71, but remind me, where's 260 at, Mr. Campbell?
71 to the county line, that's Pisgah.
It's also Pisgah.
So you would want to do 2 preservations and no resurfacing?
I'm just tossing around dollars, making the most, because you're talking about carrying some over. I was just tossing
260
dollars.
is more Rosalie than Pisgah.
Okay,
It's kind of between them, really Rosalie.
but running the other direction, what you're saying,
Yeah, away from Rosalie.
right? Just tossing the dollars, Mr. Campbell.
But on the other hand, if we wait longer to resurface, it's gonna cost us more next year or year after.
Yeah, I mean, 47's on the brink, you know, that's gonna be a big price tag. And we're borderline, you know, I think we'll see good performance out of that's a scrub seal. It's actually a cape seal, so that's a scrub seal with a micro surface is what's proposed on that buildup. So that's gonna be similar, if you think about 279 out here, Willow Street, that's the product, but this surface now is, I would argue, is in better condition than that, you know, that was when that was done, so. Patches and things like that, you know, still stand a chance on showing through. You're kinda getting what's under there when you do this, but there's a, you know, substantial savings in not using asphalt.
Mr. Venable, what if you were talking about, since we can bank the money? 362 on the,
No, I'm not worried about banking money, I just don't wanna lose it.
well, okay, well, I mean, but if we carry it over, that would put us a step closer to County Road 58 next year, and not as much to have to use, you know, out of the 111 then. If we could preserve and buy another 6 or 7 years out of 47, and then maybe, which I won't be around, but maybe consider 58 next year.
What obligations do we have to the 111 fund? Is it just a cash balance, what we have here is what we have available? And it's built up over time, so how much do they get annually?
Well, it's a combination of the triple R money that's allowed to go into 111 also. And so you get the triple R money that's has to be used on those routes. And, but Jonathan, probably you watch this balance pretty much all year, right?
We do.
It's probably gained a little bit
It,
throughout the course of the year.
yeah, most of the influence on that, the reason it's built some is reimbursements. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Right.
this is our same bank, now we've gotta deal with our sinks and slides out of,
Right.
and any potential bridge issues that arise, so there's still, you don't have it on any of these lists, but there's still bridges that we're you know, on our radar, and we're either gonna have
You've
to.
answered my question, and I just wondered how deep we needed to dip into this fund without hurting us somewhere else on some of our other plans, so.
I don't think we need to dip too far, cause like I
Yeah,
said, these,
you know, I wouldn't get too carried away, but, you know, I don't think a few $100,000, it wouldn't.
A couple $100,000 would be I mean,
I think you're probably safe, you know, we should end up on 17, you know, we're drawing in the sand here, but we should end up on 17, a couple $100,000 to the good on that project. So that was really what we were counting toward, moving on to 189 with as our initial capital.
right,
So, you know, there's a little cushion there.
so if we done the resurfacing of County Road 58 and the preservation of County Road 260, we would be roughly $600,000. So we would be pulling about $200,000 out of this.
Yes, sir.
I'm just putting together scenarios. I'm not suggesting that that's exactly what I wanna do. I'm just trying to get my mind wrapped around it.
Some of the reserve, I think also this year come from some of the disposal of some of the vehicles or something that we had purchased in 111.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good
So
point.
we have some of that for that.
Yes.
But
So we bought, go ahead, sorry.
if we approve the resurfacing of County Road 58, that takes care of our federal exchange dollars in its entirety. We could choose later to do the preservation on County Road 260. That's not something we'd have to decide.
That does not have a deadline to spend out on 111.
We can
That's
use that
correct.
money, ours anytime.
This traffic count is something I think we need to take consideration. I mean,
That's why I was looking at 58 versus the 16As. It's got 3 times the traffic count, almost 4 times the traffic count. It is 4 times. So if it was me, if I had to decide tonight, I would lean toward the resurfacing project at County Road 58
Yeah.
for our federal dollars. I don't know.
That would be just a no-brainer, really.
now 58, is that the road that leads to Fiscal School?
Country Corner,
Country Corner.
right through town, comes out of Rosalie.
So now, that leads us to our rebuild Alabama dollars.
Yes.
We're gonna lose a lot of our hard surface roads on our secondary and dead end roads. I mean, at the rate of our, you know, what we're getting to spend on roads, our major and minor collectors, personally, I think we need to, you know, put as many dollars toward them as we can to keep the major and minor collectors. We're gonna lose some hard surface. I mean, we're in regression. We've lost, when I first got elected, I think there was like 12 miles of county road that was gravel, didn't have a hard surface, and we're north of 20 miles now. So,
you could just
I
about
say that
do,
to say, if we pick 2 projects off of the resurfacing and preservation, like, again, I'm not advocating that this is what we do, but say we done County Road 23 and 17, and then come down here and done a preservation on County Road 96. That's spending $589,848, leaves $210,000, excuse me, to put toward the local roads, toward, you know, your dead end roads, your secondary roads. So that would leave, if you divide that number by 4, that leaves about $52,000 to spend in each district. That's your chip and seal, secondary roads and dead end roads. How's everybody feel about that? I mean, do you feel like we need to spend our dollars on the major and minor collectors?
That'll get you about a mile and a half, maybe.
Mr. Campbell, one question on this before we, 23 and 17, that's Plantation Point. That's just, there's several houses been built up there in the last few years. That one couldn't be put on preservation? You see it, it's either.
You see the pictures of it?
Yeah, you might wanna check your pictures out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I looked at the pictures, which I rode out through there back about 2 months ago.
it's in terrible shape.
Speaking of roads is in terrible shape, was 21 considered on any of these? Going up the mountain side of Skyline?
No,
I received several phone calls on that, I was just,
I'm not sure what category that,
But we do have some damage on it that's in the list for, on the eastern
Yeah.
flood, correct?
that's correct, it's mountainside, but it's not pavement surface, there's still drainage structure water conditions that could take place, but I don't think that's what you're talking about, you're talking about just a resurfacing project, right?
yes.
Is there a section, or are you talking about all of it from,
Just the calls I'm getting is pretty much a complaint about all of it.
is it the mountainside that you're receiving the complaints on?
Right,
mostly?
from
Yeah.
Dr. Reese's house up to the top.
Yeah, that is the area that's damaged from the flood, so that will be improved, but we just haven't got there yet.
But if we done 2317 and preservation on 96, I have in District 2 a road that, we could easily do and have, for under that 52,000, it would be left per district.
And maybe a presentation would be a better way to show folks, I know it would probably help with public perception. They're not able to see what you're looking at right now, the pictures of the local roads.
Right.
But as you can see, those roads are terrible. They're not poor condition, they're terrible.
Most are just about ready to plow up and
Plow
go
up.
back to dirt.
Whatever y'all pick, then we'll take the rippers and that'll just be incorporated into the base. Most of those roads, there's nothing to save. There'll be sections maybe if it's a large section.
Do like you're talking about here. This one here, using that later on to get this one. That's a good idea.
Alright, anybody else got any more ideas? Mr. Venable's total past. Anybody else got any? Mr. Rich, you?
I'm leaning toward what Mr. Venable was getting to, and then that way we could actually free up some money later on to work on smaller projects out in each district. I mean, I'd be fine with that. I mean, it's just up to what everybody wants to do.
23 and 17 on the county rebuild and 58 on the federal aid exchange. Gilbert?
And
96 on research or preservation.
Yeah, I was just kinda looking at the research.
Federal aid I'm good with, the other one I'm not real sure about yet, if those are the combinations I'm interested in. I may wanna write out to those, I know we have 2 weeks. If I have any objections, I'll bring them up at that time.
And either one of those would, whichever one doesn't get done this year, needs to be done next year, I'm sure.
But both of them is about the same traffic count.
Well, what I was looking at was the 94 versus the 2000. I mean, you're talking about 6
That's
more
what I-
years on it.
Right.
Yeah.
They're the oldest.
But you look at the traffic count, and the traffic count's a little bit higher on
Yeah.
83.
Okay.
You can't make our own choice.
No.
Alright, any more questions for Mr. Campbell on either one of these?
We all just need to look at these roads
This over here.
And it'll be on the 24th meeting.
Appreciate you getting all this together, the pictures and everything, definitely helpful.
You're welcome. Yes, sir. Thank y'all for checking it out and making those hard decisions.
Alright, Mr. Campbell, you ready to go to County Road 33?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna start, Mr. Chairman, if I may, by reading the solicitation. Charity's done an immense amount of work on this project. She put out this request for proposal that I'm gonna read, and just to kind of give you a little bit of background on what's brought us to this point. Obviously, Within the last few years, we've lost every bridge inspector we have. So they've either left to go to adjoining counties, left for adjoining public work type places, or even cities. So lost to other jobs internally in the county, heating and cooling place, for example. So we are down to none, and we are looking for a way to manage this. Obviously, we still have national requirements to meet on making sure we stay current on our bridge inspection, on entering our information into the national bridge inspection system. So all of those things still have to be met, all our interim inspections, all the posted bridges, all the underwater inspections, all those things still have to go on, and there's no personnel to do this. So we reached out to AlDOT and asked for a short list of consultants, or who they would recommend starting with on consultants, and working through this and finding a different way to manage this. So, and this may be a recurring theme, is if we keep trending the way we are, we're gonna have to change the way we manage our operation. We're gonna have to have help, and we're still gonna have to pay. It's just we're gonna pay a different way. It's still gonna cost us money, which I think you're about to see. But instead of personnel, we're gonna be paying out consultant-wise or contractors. Okay, so Jackson County Department of Public Works is interested in obtaining the services of an engineering consultant firm to perform bridge inspections for Jackson County during the 2021 fiscal year. Jackson County has 184 structures on inventory in AlDOT's bridge management system. Total structures include 56 posted bridges. Of the 184, 8 require underwater, 17 require snooper, 1 over the railroad. We included a report for the required inspections. The consultant shall complete the necessary field inspection and condition rating, MBI and element level of the county bridges as listed in BRM schedule for Jackson County's bridges. All inspection data shall be entered into BRM by the consultant, and the work includes submittal of reports to the county. All work shall meet or exceed AlDOT standards. Inspectors must be certified by AlDOT. All inspections to be performed before the required date, but not more than 30 days before and entered into BRM. No late inspections will be allowed. Consultant shall schedule, coordinate underwater snooper inspections and inspections over railroads as needed. When possible, AlDOT divers shall be utilized to complete the underwater inspections. The bridge inspection team will consist of the consultant's team leader and potentially a county's team member, depending on schedule. Inspections with a county team member shall be scheduled between Monday through Thursday, 6 to 4:30, to coincide with the county schedule. Potential may exist for Friday scheduling as well. A consultant shall notify the county of the date of the anticipated bridge inspection in their area at least 7 days in advance, so we can accompany the bridge inspection team if we so desire. The consultant shall provide necessary equipment, personal protective equipment, to complete the inspections in a safe and professional manner. This includes vehicles, watercraft, and any equipment necessary to access the bridge. The consultant shall notify the county of any required recommended work for each structure. This includes any missing or damaged signs. All subcontracting shall be pre-approved by the county before any work begins. Subcontractors must abide by all terms, conditions, and specs of this contract. Describe the organization's company. So this is where we want information from them, giving us the meat and potatoes of what they're proposing. Describe the organization's company, experience, capabilities, providing similar service to those required. Be specific and detailed, no more than 3 projects or contracts, description of work dates, locations, challenges, and results. We want them to identify the key staff of the organization, who they'll assign to fulfill the contract, and who will be the contract manager, and provide a synopsis describing the education and work experience of all the key staff that will be assigned to this project. We want their plan and ability to work for the county's team member schedule, a general schedule, and outlining the tasks required to accomplish the essentials of the project. We want to know their resources and ability to work with our schedule, and we want to know their approach and understanding of the project work. We want the firm's understanding of the challenges and barriers proposed and how they overcame barriers that were possibly similar. So we tell them how we're going to evaluate these, and we say it's factors that are identified, their relative importance, and the grading scale and tables that we provided. So you'll see all those along with our bridge details, and that was what was sent out in the solicitation. And in the big thick packet, we have all 4 responses. We got a short list of 4 from the state, and then all 4 responses. Consultants provided a response on our solicitation. So option 1, 2, 3, and 4. This sheet's a little bit busy, but let me explain it. It's kind of like you've seen before on our consultant selection. We have the categories on the left, and then the weight of those categories along with the evaluation factors that are listed in that solicitation, okay? So then, under each option or consultant, there's a grade assigned to each one of those categories. And then out beside that grade are just some remarks, just kind of to let you know how we led to that evaluation score and where we're coming from. So I'll work through option one, just to kind of give you some idea, and you can compare the others on your own if that's okay. Starting at the top, the methodology. So they were given the highest score along with another consultant, and that's pretty much how they told us they were going to inspect it. Okay, they were in agreement with our schedule. Some of them proposed changing our schedule, which could potentially make some late, to accommodate travel and other things. And then they'll make recommendations on the repair, and then it's entered and sent, and we're copied on everything, which is basically essentially exactly like what we asked for. By comparison, I mentioned moving some around, rearranging some inspections to reduce trips, things such as that were comparatively what impacted the other scores. Moving on down, estimated project costs. So the estimated project cost is in each one of the notes there. You can see a wide variation in cost, in option one versus option four, say. And some of that depends on the notes that were provided there. So, if we can provide an inspector 100% of the time to assist them, one of those options is less, and then 50% so on. So, we're still recommending option one at this stage. Schedule. You can see how those compare with what we asked for in our solicitation, and in our opinion, option one exceeds there as well. And then experience. So this is an area that's important, and I think important for option one, but I want to talk a little bit about the others too. So with option one, we're not only getting a bridge inspector, but we're getting a professional engineer. We're getting somebody who used to be a county engineer, and we're getting somebody who's already doing it for other counties. So it's kind of as we understand it and take from their proposal, it's a small business. It's a small business type operation where the reduced overhead is passed on and that's saving, versus a global bridge inspector, by comparison, and some of these other options where, they're robust and all over the country, and, this will be managed along with multiple other ones. So that's a lot of information, and I'm sorry about all that, but, we recommend option one in case that's not clear, and the scores are there on the weighted average, the totals at the bottom. So as you wade through this, if any questions arise about, how we got a 90 versus a 50 or whatever, let's talk and make sure you're good and understand all where we're coming from and what we're recommending. Any questions about this summary sheet or any of that I just said?
When will you make a decision on this?
Bridge inspection typically starts ramping up September, October, so we're on the brink. We have 3-4 inspections this month, no big deal, but we can end up more than 30 in a month. This would also come from 111, so
Right.
think about those expenses like we were talking about before, the same bank funds, same bank account funds, multiple things.
So you're good with putting it on the next work session, and
We're ready when y'all are.
okay. Or is everybody comfortable with taking a couple weeks to look at it, putting it on the 24th?
That wouldn't push, Mr. Campbell out there for us, that would be fine with me, that would give us, would be 1 month from today, 4 weeks from today.
Go to 2 meetings, is that what you're saying?
Well, actually, we have
Well-
Monday, so we would actually be 5 weeks. from
Yes, the
today.
24th is our next, we'll have a meeting and then a work session again.
That's 2 weeks, that's in 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
That's not what you're saying, right?
You know, I'm saying if you put it on the next work session.
Yeah, then it'll be 2 weeks after that, so we're
We're
talking about 4
after
weeks.
that before it's voted on. Cause now we're stacked, we have our
Yeah.
meeting and then our work session.
Right, yeah, whatever you guys are comfortable with.
If we had to, could we
We're
do
ready.
the fifth Monday?
Is this a year to year?
It'd be for 1 year, yes, sir, for 1 year. Hopefully, part of that language I just read, hopefully we have some personnel. You know, our goal in drafting this was not only to get some help, but to get some training. Okay, so, you know, we've trained and lost people. We need a human to put with them, and that starts counting. It takes 5 years to make a bridge inspection, okay? So you see the cost of this, it's not a full-time job year-round for a bridge inspector, but during bridge inspection time, it's pretty much a full-time job for those folks. So what couples well with that is project inspection, you know, all the project inspection, engineering inspection. So that used to be funded with reimbursements with federal aid money, right? So basically those federal aid reimbursements that we got back, charging those projects with those people, our bridge inspectors were paid for us, okay? So that's gone, it's gone now.
Good. Thank you.
We have some kind of emergency situations and things now. These can be pulled in, that correct? Check out.
Yeah, I'm a certified bridge inspector. Miss Manning's a certified bridge inspector. The problem is just, you know, doing everything.
Not enough of you.
Right.
Right.
So there were 2 full-time positions there that, you know, did that.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we're handling bridge inspections now, emergency inspections, interim inspections. Like County Road 118 bridge, we're gonna look at, you know, that requires a whole inspection when that's being, things like that.
Okay, just want to understand, I was looking at this correctly.
Anything else, Mr. Campbell?
No, sir, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Next will be the Sportsman's Landing. I know we've talked about this several times. We got an answer back from TVA, and TVA, you know, we're talking about partnering with Scottsboro City. They were wanting to fix up the boat launch and a couple things. Yeah.
33.
Yeah, he didn't do 33.
Did we not do 33 Snodgrass?
Snodgrass Road.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. I, for some reason, I don't know why I skipped over. Go ahead. I made my notes down wrong.
Okay, you'll notice an estimate, I'm looking at this sheet.
Okay.
And there's a photo attached. So we were approached sometime back by the city, with their intent to do Snodgrass Road and Gant Road, that project. A portion of what is often considered Snodgrass Road is County Road 33, so it leads in from US 72 to actually the beginning of Snodgrass, and it's in that peculiar intersection where it turns, heads on out to zebra plains and all that, if you're familiar with the area. So the portion, this estimate is for the portion of 72 to actually the beginning of Snodgrass. So the city had proposed, you know, including that in their project, which was their intent, and they did in their bid to include those quantities in their project to do it all. But they were interested in trading services for a city street, that they were interested in chip seal and things like that. So I made the recommendation, considering we don't pave routinely, and with fear of maybe our performance not satisfying, you know, whatever they had in mind with their project, that we either participate and pay our part or don't participate at all. So we're to that crossroads where we must decide. They have full intent in moving forward with this project. They plan to start soon on the patching and the early stages of this. So if we want to participate, you know, we need a vote to do that, or if we don't want to do it, we need some understanding to not do that as well. So it's about 7/10 of a mile, and that's what this estimate represents. It's from 72 to Snodgrass, and this will be not a full-blown resurfacing. By the way, that 7/10 of that is probably the best condition of the entire project. So what they're proposing, I think, would work fine on our 7/10. I have some doubts about, you know, maybe the other area, but this would be our estimated cost to participate in that portion of that project and make that a consistent, Snodgrass all the way out to 72 resurfacing. There's a photo attached too. Any questions about 33 Snodgrass?
So you definitely need an answer on this by the next meeting.
They plan to start patching mid-August.
They've already started on some cross drainage, haven't
Replacing cross drains ahead of it. Looked like they were, there's a safety project they were awarded too for the guardrail on that bridge, as I understand. Looks like they're getting ready for some of that, so.
And this is one of the main thoroughfares that our public works and sanitation departments uses. So we have put a lot of wear and tear on that road, so.
That's correct, yes, sir, and we're often reminded of that. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. Now back to the sports landing. TVA has said that the property has been long-term lease, I think is how they put it, for the county. But we cannot allow Scottsboro, according to TVA, to go in and do some of the grant work that they were wanting to do. So we have a decision to make. We either have to apply for the grants ourselves, do the work ourselves, and use the property, or turn it back over to TVA for them to turn it over to Scottsboro City. So this body needs to decide whether or not we wanna keep it and do the project, or if we wanna turn it over to the city and let the city do the project. But we would lose the property. Any thoughts?
My thoughts are if we could, achieve some grant money. I know Mr. Venom said once before that, could be some money that might be calculated there with some sites, camping sites and things, so it might be something we could look at that would be a benefit to us in the long run. If we give it up, it's over with more likely. I know we don't have the funding to do it, but if we could come up with some grant money, it'd be available. That's just me talking.
There's no guarantee of a grant. We could sure apply for it, but there's not a 100% guarantee for that. Mr. Rich?
I believe if I remember right, we have a waiting list on campsites at the Jackson County Park at the moment.
Yes, sir.
My thought would be maybe putting some campsites, RV park spots out there, if we could see to fund it through grants or whatnot. Would be a good idea. I mean, that's just me thinking.
Yeah. Just give them.
I agree with Mr. Rich, because if TVA will allow that type of structure there too, will be the different things, jumping through their hoops. But we're in need of sites, and that's on the water.
I think the only stipulation is we couldn't build a permanent structure there. Other than that, we could do campsites, the way I understand it.
Well, what about a bathhouse or something to that effect?
Can't be a permanent structure. Mr. Dillon?
I'd like to turn loose of that piece of property for the potential of having camping and stuff there. It definitely needs work done on it. And, if we're gonna keep the property, we need to do something with it instead of just sitting there like the rest of TVA property with all of them in play. So if we're gonna hold on to it, we need to move forward. We're trying to.
Could we get with them and see if we couldn't build a bathhouse? I mean, there's several places that TVA owns land and they're letting, individual entities put in the bathhouses.
We can request it, just based upon what it says, it just said no permanent structure, but, yeah, we could definitely request it.
I don't see moving forward without the bathhouse on the campsites, even though most campers come with that, most people utilize that structure at a campground.
It'd definitely be something to check into.
So consensus to keep the property.
Right.
Okay. Next we'll move to reports from staff. Mr. Manning, do you have anything? Mr. Campbell, do you have anything further for us?
Yes, sir, I do, but you might wanna let me go last.
Okay. Mr. Porter, you got anything?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Rocky? Paul?
Y'all please check your email tonight, if you hadn't already. I sent you an email out at about 3 o'clock that you need to be, information you need to be aware of.
Okay, thank you. Ross, you have anything?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Campbell.
Sorry. He's got it day. All right, I'm gonna do a quick update on projects, then I'm gonna move into a short presentation, hopefully.
Okay.
County Road 61, we talked about some of these a little bit. I had it on my list to catch you up. I know we haven't talked in some time, so I wanna do that. County Road 61, we're at the Concrete Islands and Access Management in Pisgah School Zone. We still like the school zone improvements and the wearing surface on that. So the scrub seal's been done, patching's done. Obviously, it'll still have to have pavement striping markers, all that. County Road 77, so that was our safety project, swearing to you out. Optical speed bars are done, the striping's done, we're still awaiting signs, rumble strips done, all that, so, markers have been done, and we're just awaiting those LED embedded curb signs, and then that project will be complete. County Road 90 is awaiting pre-con, it's been awarded, as soon as we get the pre-construction done, that resurfacing project will be able to kick off. County Road 21, that's another HRRR safety project, that was an upgrade in signage, striping, curve delineation, just, headed out to Pikeville from town out to Pikeville. That's scheduled for letting. And County Road 17, so you have a photo of that on where, kind of what that's looking like these days. We're in the excavation stage of that. Clearing and grubbing is complete, pavement's removed, and we're making our way down an excavation. We have our contractor scheduled to mobilize 17th, which is Monday, so we have, we still have to get down a few more feet to meet our benchmark on where they're gonna start stabilizing that upslope. So we worked last Friday, we'll probably be doing the same to make sure we're all good and where we need to be on doing that.
Is everything going pretty well as planned?
So far, so good. We've encountered some boulders, but luckily we've been able to handle all those. It's doing good. Our haul site and our disposal area is working good. We're getting dialed in on our routine. The guys are doing a great job. Supervisor over that's doing fantastic organizing that.
Are you still having any traffic coming through?
Occasionally, but I think we've just taken care of that.
Okay. Safety's the number one thing.
Yes, sir. FEMA projects. Our FEMA projects, as you recall, from Easter flood. So it devastated a lot of drainage structure, ditches, mountainside on 21, for example, Boy Scout Road 24, 53, 54, 91. We're mostly complete with 91, not entirely, but most of that work is done. That was the worst stop. We still have 21 remaining, Boy Scout Road remaining, so 53 and 54 most likely, that's still remaining. We have a FEMA meeting, later on this week about that, but we just don't have the people. We've got to use these people on 17, we're obligated by contract. We've got to cut the grass, we've got to patch the roads, and we're out of people. So, we'll switch back. We're preparing the roads for Rebuild Alabama. That's what's taking our people that in 17. So we're under obligation on productive amounts on excavation with 17. So we'll have to obligate the resources to meet that. So we're looking at maybe mid-September before we can get back to ditching. So your phone may ring and they may say, I got a drainage problem and I turned in a work order and nobody's even done anything about it. This is why nobody's done anything about it, okay? Just, if we need to do different, let's talk, but this is the only way we see on connecting the dots. All right, so, Rebuild Alabama, we talked about obligations on that. So 687's complete, 447's complete, 435 and 422's complete. We're working on 142 right now down there, Mark, and we still have 350 and 9 left to get ready. I say complete, they're ready to be paid, they're not paid yet, okay? That's the contract portion. So all these will take a revisiting with a motor grader right before he comes in. But the reclaiming, reshaping, cross-drain work, all that's done, and it's set and ready, material stockpile, et cetera. Okay, patching update, so this is looking a lot better. The blue is June, black is July, and then there's a brown in there, if you can make the distinction, and that's August. That's all the updates. Now, the presentation, it's okay.
Okay.
So a ribbon cutting was held last week, and just appreciate all that participated in that. And I wanted to go through some photos, because it's really hard to tell just looking at a completed project, all that went on, so I would like to do that. This is an existing structure. It was built in 1973 over Burkhalter Creek. You can see, in the road view there, the approach was borderline unsafe, I would say. You can see where there's been settlement at the approaches over the years, and pavement's been added, materials being lost on the wings and sides. And in the profile view, aside from the stream bed situations that exist, in the far background, the part of the old structure remained, and it made for a weird alignment with that stream. But the main problems, as you'll see later, are the pile condition with that center bend. But you can tell here where material had obviously lodged and scoured some of the abutment material stabilizing that structure. So this was the main issue. This is the piling in the center bend in the creek. And this is going on all over the county right now. We could, I don't know if we could point to some right now this minute this bad, but there's some really close race. So the corrosion's gone. The corrosion inhibitor's gone, protective coating's gone. These things start corroding, and then pack rust, and then the pack rust leads to delamination. And then once that delamination falls away, then we have section loss. When we get down to knife blading, as this is often called, and major section loss, then we're losing our ability to transfer our axial load to the ground. So in the center bend in particular, you have two spans resting on that center bend. This is a 4-bent pile. Transferring that load actually down to the footing or the ground is what the section of that material in an evaluation standpoint, as far as evaluating the bridges, is what that relies on. So once that material deteriorates and that condition lowers, it ultimately leads, like it did in County Road 118 bridge, it's closing. You can see there just another shot of the section loss. It had other issues as well. There were indicators in the construction that there was shallow rock encountered. You can see the third pile in where it was bent while it was driven, cut and spliced. The back wall's leaning, it's getting some lateral pressure from soil, maybe groundwater too. And then, there's deteriorated wood. This was typical construction. This is what most of our bridges are. It was state built, steel driven pile, 3-inch creosote back walls and wings, and precast concrete super. This bridge didn't last as long typically as we see, but we're nearing 50 years on lifespan of this thing, so it's done okay, But the other issues, the leaching through the top deck between the joints were leaky, and the super, as we later found out, was a little worse than actually we had known. Just a shot there, once this superstructure is unloaded, we can't make those repairs with all that weight above them, right? So it's clear to see that some of that piling is gonna have to go, and we're gonna have to fix that. So we kind of hopscotch with the technique on replacing that section of bad piling. You can see you have to get below that mud line to really identify where the oxygen's been cut off and the corrosion stopped. Once we have that identified, they came up with a nifty idea here about placing the filter fabric, geotextile fabric, down in their excavation. We're below the water line, so as that seeps back in, then it's not only stabilizes what they're walking on, but provides clean water that we can release. It's good above and below. We have to take out that section, and this is a shot here of where that's taking place. So we can't let our cap elevation change, so that's checkerboarded how those are removed and replaced. This looks like maybe toward the beginning of the day where they're pumping all of the water out of that excavation site. Pipe in the right is stream diversion for it, and we're in dry times here where you can actually work. That's Dylan and Zach on the left, Michael Crane in the background. All those guys are doing a fantastic job for us. We're just hopeful we can hang on to them. So 3 down, 1 to go. There's been a lot of work take place at this stage. Dutchmen are put back in, welded up, and then the, abutment piling are encased and, ready to receive concrete. There was corrosion on the others as well, I didn't mention that, but that's what that encasement solves. And then, this is a 4-day, I believe, where the center vent has been encased, piling's big, center vent's encased, and it's bored, and then the abutment has been encased in board as well. I'll mention that the center vent, once we repaired that section, it was so large that a standard encasement wasn't enough, so that actually had to be doubled there to make sure we're above and below that. And it'll add for a lot of stability on the structure, because there were indicators that it was, they encountered shallow rock, possibly didn't receive tip elevation on their driving. We don't know that without piling records, but there were clues in the construction that led us to believe they had framed it up, kind of added some extras there. This is a shot looking where the back wall's obviously been replaced, the encasement's up, the stream bay protection, scour protection's in place. We're in the winter time, and you can tell the difference in the water flow. They're nearing being out of the water, and this is always good. They get a sigh when they can get out of the water and start more vertical construction application. Corrosion protection's on, they're getting a lot of the paint and priming in, and the back walls are going up on the other side. That's just another shot, about the same time frame, but just to see how those back walls are going in. That's corrugated bridge plank, that's actually structural. So that's not a thin corrugated metal, that will actually suffice for a bridge deck. So it works well for abutments to replace that wood. We can weld that to the steel, it's punched to allow for free draining, and it's rigid. So just in case you're wondering if we needed a bridge there, that was wintertime high flow where we were stalled, obviously, on being able to work. There, it's really coming along. You can see the abutments are built in, the fill's been placed, and that fill, the way that they do that is the GCS. It's a GCS technology where it's put in layers, 8-inch lifts with geotextile fabric, and as long as the compactive effort is achieved, the wall really feels no vertical pressure, soil pressure from that wall, and then you have a free draining abutment built there. That fabric will wrap around the wall, and it can be free draining and relieve that full water pressure or back wall pressure from any rising groundwater. So it's almost complete here as far as the substructure. A little bit of protective coating, and we're ready to set super. And that's the first in place. There's a shot of that fabric coming up that wall like I was talking about. The first set of supers in place, a good opportunity to see the keyway, how these things lock in. So this bridge was put back just like it was, right? We didn't change design, we didn't do anything different. We just fixed back the parts and put it back exactly like it was. The keyways will actually cast, that'll be a cast in place, and it locks all that in, and that acts like a monolithic slab at that point, along with all the bolting and connections, which you'll see in a little later. In this shot, they're working on bringing that abutment up on the other side so they can set the other side. Here's a shot of setting that super. They're getting rid of the lifting eyes in that place so the other slab can set in, and that is Kyle May on the right. He's unfortunately left us. He's water, sewer, and gas, and they have landed themselves a fantastic employee. That's Michael Crane doing the cutting, and I believe that's Zach that's holding the tagline to fly that piece of structure in place. And of course, Chris is just out of the picture, which is probably his preference, but he's done an absolutely fantastic job in training these guys. It is traditional, hands-on craftsmanship being taught by an excellent supervisor to a lot of these young men who are mostly in their 20s that did the majority of the work on the structure. So there's a shot of it all buttoned up, put together. It's on bearing pads now, not just sitting on steel before. Connections are all good. They did an outstanding job and a great quality project, and I'm extremely proud of them. So the castings were, Jake, before he left us, he had organized a lot of the castings that were done on the side of that, so that our guardrail posts could just attach. We would have that ready in advance for the contractor rolling in. So so they could just do the rail, in treatments, length of need, things like that, and move on quicker. So there's a shot we're coming up to grade and getting ready to receive, asphalt, guardrail to finish those things up. And there's a picture of, everything in place, pretty much a profile picture of what you would see today if you were out there. Just a shot from the top. Everything's stabilized, much safer approach, guardrails in place, back walls and wings look good, and there's just kind of a little side-by-side comparison of the before and after. And all is well that ends well, right? So, we thank you for your participation in the ribbon cutting, and thank you for allowing me to present that.
We appreciate it.
Guys done a great job.
Yeah. Any more questions, Mr. Campbell, on the bridge? If not, we'll move on to, statements from the commissioners. Mr. Sis, you have anything?
Yeah, a little angered with what I see back there. I want to commend the people for the job they done. Done a great job. I would like to been a part of that. Didn't even know about the ribbon cutting. I talked with Danny, I guess about 1:30 that day, and he should have a ribbon cutting. I said, well, no way I can make it today. And I said, short notice, but that's where my notice was there. So, but please carry it on to the people. Lean men and done a work, done a great job.
Thank you.
And,
Ms. Gilbert?
No, sir.
Mr. Venable?
Fill out your census and don't plant the seeds that you get in the mail, unless you ordered some seeds. If you do have seeds, no joke, the county extension officer said the best way to dispose of them is burning them. Cause if you send them, put them in the trash, dog knocks trash over, something like that, they could, get planted, by mistake and possible invasive species or something, so, that's it.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, Jonathan, the crew did an outstanding job on this bridge. And back to Mr. Rocky, we're not only hurting in the sheriff's department, we're hurting in every position, every department in the county for more labor, more, and we're got our hands tied. We've got to get our heads together and get these problems fixed. And it's pathetic. We've got to do whatever means we gotta do to keep our employees and get them to stay. That's the number one thing. But it's time to get down to serious business, and we've got to do something. If we have to go to President Trump, we will. This is all I got to say. Thank you.
All right. Before I adjourn on the ribbon cutting, Ms. Lewis, I think sent that out about a week before to everybody, email. So it was close to a week. It might have been 4 or 5 days, but it went out. So
well, I didn't actually.
might want to check your inbox. Anyway, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor say aye. All opposed?